Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Candid, where we have real talks with real people. I'm your host Shanae, and today I'm here with Dudley.
Hey,
Hi Dudley, how's life been?
I've been sick for the past 7 days.
You always say.
No, I'm not. See, I just told my friend the other day that I've only been sick twice for the year. I've been sick like 5 times for the year, but if I say I've only been sick twice, then my immune system thinks it's doing a good enough job so that I don't have to like suffer anymore, you know?
That's not how it works.
That's definitely that's definitely how we're gonna have to work today. I know I know what you thought.
You know what? Whatever you say goes, okay?
Exactly.
Okay, so we've been missing again, guys. But that's just life. Life is really rough sometimes, and sometimes you just gotta, take a step up. So I don't know if you saw but the leader of the Coalition of Independence, Lincoln.
Wait. Oh my god.
Hold on, let me finish. He orchestrated, well, him and his party, orchestrated a protest on Bay Street, which resulted in him being literally lifted into the back of a police vehicle. Yeah, and they were charged for unlawfully gathering or whatever they call it. So yeah, so basically the whole reason they were protesting was because they say that we have an issue with immigration, and that COI believes the citizenship bill or nationality bill, I think it's called, should be amended so that children born to irregular immigrant parents in the Bahamas cannot apply for citizenship. Now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs had a lot to say about this. There was a voice note that was leaked, and Mitchell referred to Bain as a false prophet seeking of publicity for a cause with his followers. He said that the government has already indicated there is no crisis in immigration and no plan to change laws on citizenship. Citizens have a right to protest and advocate changing laws, but no citizen, devil, prophet, or otherwise has the right to interfere with my right to go to Parliament and to speak on my right to speak freely. So I thought that was interesting. And then Minister of Labor and Immigration, the Honorable Keith Bell, said that the draft legislation has been passed on to the Attorney General because that's the procedure. And he said that there's a lot of law reform going on and the draft will be considered. Now, he said that nothing in this proposal is anything new or anything that they haven't seen before. And he said that this is something that requires deep thought and consultation with the Bahamian people to ensure that this is what they truly want. So, my thoughts on this, I feel like, because we talk about immigration a lot. Yeah, we talk about it a lot, and I may have like some controversial thoughts because I feel like I'm a very controversial person on the show. But
you're the controversial one. It's not Dudley, it's you, sure.
Yeah. So, well, besides that, no, Dudley, you say off the wall stuff. Like,
but I'm right. But I be right though.
So yeah, I feel like that is not the correct way to go about it. At least not at this time. Like just saying, okay, everybody born to somebody that is an illegal immigrant for in so many words should not be allowed to apply for citizenship. I don't think that's the way to solve the problem. That's my opinion. I feel like we have a lot more to fix before we could even think about going to redraft our citizenship laws. I think for right now, they're fine the way they are, well, to an extent, fine the way they are, as long as they would actually work how they're supposed to. I feel like a lot of times they don't work how they're supposed to. But saying, okay, every person who's born to a parent that isn't of an illegal immigrant or whatever shouldn't be granted citizenship, I think that's a bit harsh because I feel like the sins of the parents should not fall on the children. That's just how I feel. And I feel like it's it is our fault because they are getting into our borders, meaning that we don't have enough protection. So we're now punishing innocent children who were not aware of what was happening around them, then we ourselves as a country could pull up our socks in other ways. So I feel like that should be a last resort. I feel like we should try every other avenue before we decide, okay, this is not gonna happen. And I feel like it's kind of weird. Like, your thoughts, Dudley?
I have many thoughts about this, actually. I have a lot of thoughts. The first thing I'd like to say is that the current laws that we have in place for citizenship are not perfect. I still want to know the reasoning why, if a Bahamian man is married to a foreign woman, he may pass on citizenship to his child. But if a Bahamian woman is married to a foreigner and has a child with said foreigner, she cannot pass on the citizenship to her child. So, and that's like one. I forget what the other law is that is very much so just sexist against women. And then there's three of them that don't make sense. I don't remember the exact wording of them, but I do remember the two of them say um women cannot pass on the citizenship, and one says, and in one instance, a man cannot pass on citizenship. So, with all that being said, we don't have perfect, we don't have perfect citizenship laws in this country. But and for those of us that were old enough to vote at the time, we all know that we tried that referendum, and they named the referendum the women's rights referendum. And then there was this fear, because at the same time as we were discussing quote unquote women's rights, there was also the thing in America going on with gay people got the right to get married. And then the Christian sect made it into an issue of, well, if we let this happen, then the language is going to allow for gay people to get married next, and we're going down a slippery slope, and that was all a bunch of bull. Long story short, we had that referendum that was paraded as the women's rights referendum that got told no because we were afraid of gay people. So, in the first place, our laws for passing on citizenship are not perfect. They're flawed. There's gaping flaws in those laws. Secondly, Lincoln Bain is quite possibly the most terrifying example of a Bahamian nationalist that is public, that has a public speaking platform. You see, it was a meme during the last election cycle. Leading up to it, it was a meme that Lincoln Bain would start off his arguments by saying something that sounds very sensible, and then it would just devolve into something. Well, let me rephrase that. Lincoln Bain would say things that sound sensible and attractive to Bahamians, and then it devolves into xenophobic fascist rhetoric. And
Yeah.
it's funny because in his, like, him saying that they refuse to let him deliver these letters to the House of Assembly and this, that, is showing that we are heading to a place of fascism. Um, my brother in Christ, you are sharing the prime example of fascist rhetoric that is coming in this side of the world right now. Now, the world, like, politicians around the world are having to deal with some pretty wild stuff. America's not doing too great. Ukraine is not doing too great. Russia is not doing too great. Brazil is in a confused state of affairs. Venezuela trying to figure out what's going on here. But I mean, the gall of this man to blame every single problem in this country and lay those problems at the feet of Haitians is astounding and also terrifying, because he's getting support. Think about it like this. During COVID, the PLP were the opposition, and they had their sign of they had their what is oh Lord, what is it called? They had their performance thing where they were like refusing to go into the House of Assembly. And we got the greatest menace meme of all time where he say "Tree people," and then he just walk inside. But this the reason why the Coalition of Independence is scary is because they're a legitimate third party. Their leaders espouses fascist rhetoric. If you don't believe me, by the way, you can just go. I just want you to go and Google. Um, you can either Google. This is going to be a little bit of homework. You can either Google Mussolini. Don't ask me how to spell it. Just sound it out, and Google will fix it for you. Mussolini and Italy, and or Hitler and Germany. And I just want you to look at what those guys said, because Nazism is just a more extreme. Fascism is extreme, and Nazism is an extreme version of fascism. So between those two dictators, by the way, those guys were dictators. Between those two dictators, you can see the parallels of what Lincoln Bain is saying. Hitler was saying the problem was the Jews in Germany. Lincoln Bain is saying the problem are the Haitians in the Bahamas. Like, you can change every single word from Hitler's speeches and change the words Germany and Jews with the Bahamas and Haitians, and it is the same thing. And it's horrifying. It's horrifying because people want to act like what Hitler did was a far off atrocity that happened oh so long ago. Now, it's been the Second World War isn't even 100 years old yet, if I'm remembering correctly. World War II is less than 100. Yeah, World War II started in 1939. It is currently 2022. It's been about 80 years. It's been about a little over 80 years since then. That's not that long. Computers are like 30 years old. So this isn't too long ago where we saw what people who say this, we saw what they were capable of. Now, am I saying that Lincoln Bain is going to suggest that we throw Haitians in gas chambers? No, I don't think that anybody would be that bold to do that. But what I am saying is that history has shown us that people who perform this rhetoric, who make it a part of the social conscience and make it accepted, like, they are feeding off the natural insecurities that all Bahamians have when it comes to our Haitian brethren, which is incredible considering Haitians are the reasons that Black people aren't slaves anymore. But we gotta admit, there's a strong xenophobic attitude towards Haitians in this country. He's feeding on that. He's telling you that he told you that the Haitians tried to burn down those pine forests where he shot his shotgun that was legally owned. And then it turned around, and the news came out that that was actually the actions of Bahamians that did that. He did not retract the statements. He did not care to. He got his point across, and there was a good number of people out there with him. That's like 100 people. And when they were released from prison, from the courthouse, like a good number of people, a good number of regular Bahamian citizens took time away from their paying jobs to watch him walk out of the courtroom and cheered for him. Now, if I want, I just want you, I just, and I'm drawing parallels to a very awful mind so you guys can see the things that we're talking about. Before Hitler won, and before the Nazi Party won their first election, Hitler went to jail. Hitler wrote a book in prison with the assistance of his cellmate, who was a giant fanatic follower of his. But my point is that if you know history, if you know the awful history of this earth, you will see that there are scarily, horrifyingly similar signs are taking place. And I don't want the educated, scholarly among us to be like, oh, you're reaching, it's not that bad, it won't get that bad. Bahamians would never fall for it. This, that, and the third. I want you all to be honest with yourselves. For those of you that paid attention during the last election cycle, a lot of people were saying that the FNM were speaking in a way that the FNM was speaking in a way that was eerily similar to Donald Trump during his 2020 presidency campaign. And when you looked at those speeches, you can see the parallels between what Minnis was saying and what Trump was saying. The FNM might have lost by a landslide, but the FNM the FNM they didn't lose because people were tired of the FNM. They lost because people were tired of the lockdowns. That's really the main reason that they lost. And then, you could say Minnis was callous during all of that, but that's just, that's the price you pay when you're the head of the country. So I'm really just warning everybody who cares enough to listen that I don't think that we have the next rising of Hitler coming. I don't think Lincoln Maine will be that bad. However, it is very easy for people who speak like this to get their following. No matter what we think about him, Lincoln Maine is clearly charismatic enough to have a following. The Coalition of Independents probably have way more followers now than they did during the last election cycle. The Coalition of Independents is they are the legitimate third party in this country. A charismatic individual is espousing rhetoric that is putting the blame of every social ill in the country on people that are not organic Bahamians. I don't even know how you can describe a group of people as organic, but we're the organic Bahamians, apparently. And he is telling you that the non-organic Bahamians are coming here. They're taking your jobs. They're destroying your land. They're building shanty towns where you can't. They're building up communities illegally where you can't build up communities. He is telling you that all of your problems fall at the feet of these people, ignoring the fact that we have irregular migration from other countries as well. We have sex trafficking that goes through this country that aren't solely focused on Haitian people. We have a lot of things wrong in this country. People are getting paid $260 for their work starting in January. Like, everything is scary right now. And this guy is trying to tell you that every problem that we can identify is because of Haitian people. I'm trying to tell you that all of the problems that we are facing is because the Bahamas structure is built upon social promotion, not the effort of your work, nepotism, and a societal framework that benefits the minority of individuals rather than the majority. To changing these things is going to take a long time. And blaming Haitians for the ills of our forefathers is the easiest and most incorrect and short-sighted thing that you can do. It is intellectually dishonest, and the person who is saying it should be looked at as a raving lunatic, but they are not. They are the leader of the third party. They're a person who's sensible. They're a person who's charismatic. This man, I mean, I remember when Fred Mitchell told him to go and get a job, and that man said, I don't work, I hire people. So this man, he has some level of power and influence. So I'm just saying, this ain't no random person that you could ignore. This is a legitimate individual. This man has, for whatever reason, a strong amount of credibility amongst his followers. And a lot of us that suffer when you're poor, when you're poor, you live on the edge of the poverty line. It's very easy to push your problems onto individuals that are not the source of the problem. So I'm begging you guys. I'm begging everybody to just take Lincoln Bain seriously. Challenge this man whenever he speaks, because if you don't, next thing you know, your friend could be voting for the coalition of independence, and maybe not next time we have a general election. Maybe not the second time after, but eventually, eventually, the worst could happen, and they could win, and they will act on everything that they said they would. And that will be horrifying for a good number of people in this country. So I'm just saying that, this is kind of scary. But that's just my thoughts.
No, I agree wholeheartedly because, like you said, pushing this xenophobic rhetoric, he's feeding off of the fact that a lot of Bahamians have a dislike for Haitians for whatever reason. He doesn't realize this verbiage is important and what you say and how you say it when you're a leader or someone in position or with a, just even a following. It's important to understand what you're saying. And a lot of the things that he was saying, he didn't say illegal immigrants. He didn't even say illegal Haitians, or he did sometimes, but then other times he would just switch and say Haitians. Not every Haitian is illegal here illegally. And what I don't understand is Bahamians, because I pay attention on social media and stuff. And I'm in a lot of the groups like 242 in the know and stuff like that, where people could like share their thoughts. And it's just like in this country, Haitians can't breathe because when they're going about it the right way and they're naming the paper, going through the process correctly, Bahamians take pictures of that, post it on Facebook saying, oh, look at these people coming in our country. And I'm just like, listen, you want them to come legally or illegally? To me, it sounds like y'all just don't want them here in the first place. And just to talk on the fact about the organic Bahamian, there's no such thing as an organic Bahamian. Okay, the Lucayans were wiped out in 1492 or shortly thereafter by Christopher Columbus. That I could say that's the only originators of the Bahamas. Everybody here after that could not be considered original Bahamians. We all came from somewhere, and that's just a fact. The reason we speak the way we do is because our ancestors were from Africa. They were called the Gullah Geechees, and we're some of the only people in the world who speak the way we do. Our Creole is very distinct, and it irritates me. It bothers me that this man he's basically he's spreading nonsense, and he is putting, like you said, our social ills on a percentage of immigrants that live here, and that's unfair. Bahamians have the largest bill at PMH, over I think $7 million the last time I checked. Why are we not talking about that? Yeah, some Haitians may be here illegally, but the fact of the matter is, if they go to the food store, they're paying VAT, they're paying taxes, they're still contributing to some extent to society. Not saying that it's right to go into somebody's country illegally, but before but colonization, people used to walk across frozen rivers to get where they needed to be. It wasn't no, oh, we need a passport, or we need this, that, and the third. You can move wherever freely. So my thing is, why is why this such protection over the identification of being a Bahamian? If that makes sense. I don't know if I worded that correctly. But why is it such a big deal if a Haitian comes here and they have a child with a Bahamian and that child identifies as a Haitian Bahamian because they're using their heritage. Bahamians get upset when children identify as Haitian Bahamian. Why? If someone goes to America and has a child and they're American, they have an American passport, and they come out to the Bahamas because their parents are Bahamian, they're going to identify as Bahamian, as American and Bahamian. Yeah, I understand that you shouldn't be moving to somebody's country illegally. Okay, cool. I get that. I understand the shanty towns. It's an issue. I get that. But sometimes people are just being hateful towards this demographic of people, in my opinion, for no reason. Just because some break the rule doesn't give you a right to hate all.
I can explain. I can actually answer a couple of things that you spoke about. One of the things, so there was this thing back in the day where if you went to America and you were born in an American hospital, you automatically you were automatically identified as an American citizen, even if your parents was just visiting. And a lot of Bahamians took advantage of that. And then, the thing is, in the Bahamas. the Bahamas does not recognize dual citizenship. The law of the Bahamas is when if you have two passports as a child or you have multiple passports as a child, you then, when you turn 18, the Bahamian government says you have to make a choice. Either you Bahamian or you the next thing. That's why you ever notice when we talk about a person's nationality, you notice we always say, it's always we always put Bahamian on the back end. You're American Bahamian, you're Haitian Bahamian, Italian Bahamian, whatever. Because if you prefix, if you put your second nationality as a prefix, it's still, at the end of the day, you saying like, a part of me is Italian, but I'm really Bahamian. That's kind of how that works because the last word matters. Also, and talking about him having to be careful with his words, you're very wrong. That man knows exactly what he's doing. He's intentionally not being careful. For example, you remember, I don't know if you saw this story in America, but a Chinese woman was standing by a train, was standing in a subway near the tracks. And when the train was coming, someone ran up, pushed her in front of the train, and she immediately died during COVID. Do you know? And recently, there was a rise of violence against Asian Americans. Why? Donald Trump said that COVID is the China virus. He blamed COVID on Chinese people. So, a lot of us can't really look at an Asian person and be like, oh, this is a Japanese person, this is a Chinese person, whatever. Like we're very blind to the specific details that make them different. So Asian Americans saw a rise in racism and violence towards them during the pandemic because Donald Trump intentionally labeled COVID. He intentionally laid the burden of COVID on their feet, at their feet. He put it there intentionally. Lincoln Bain is doing the exact same thing. This is not, him him messing up is when he says that there is when he doesn't say Haitians. Him saying illegal Haitians or him saying irregular migrants, those are the mistakes. Or those are like the little times where he tries to make you feel like he's making a greater point. But whenever that man says Haitians, that man is being very intentional. He wants you to believe that the problem in this country is Haitians. It's specifically Haitians. And before anybody tells me this, I know the Bahamas gets a lot of irregular migration from Haiti. Yes, that is an undeniable fact. Most of them do it in transit to get to where they ultimately want to go, which is America. Sometimes Canada, but mostly America. And, a lot of times we intercept them. A lot of times they come here and it takes a little bit longer than they expect to get to America. So they end up saying, well, this is better than Haiti. So I'm just going to stay in the Bahamas. Yes, all of this is true. All of what I just said is very true. And I'm not a super humanitarian. So I can't in good conscience defend all of their decisions. However, However, I just want everyone to know these people are doing it because they want a better life. A lot of them don't want to be here. Like some people will tell you they don't. Oh, I don't understand why Haitians talk so bad about the Bahamas because all of them are trying to get here. All of them are not trying to get here. A lot of them get stuck here because when the U.S. Coast Guard catches them, they are going to ask them, what country did you come from? They don't ask what is your country of origin. They do not put Haitians on their vessels and ship them back to and send them back to Haiti. No, They send them back to Jamaica if they came from Jamaica, and they send them back here if they came from here. So literally the illegal immigrants, the irregular migrants that the Coast Guard catch, they turn around and dump them back here. And that's why you have a lot of Bahamians saying it doesn't make sense for the United States to tell us how to deal with illegal immigrants, because they do a lot. They treat illegal immigrants far worse than we do. But that's a whole other discussion. The point is, you know, a lot of them do not want to settle here. A lot of them do not want to make another life here. A lot of them really want to go to America. They really, really, really believe in the American dream. They just cannot get there. They get stuck. And when they get stuck here, they make the best of a bad situation and they make a way to survive. Because promise you, I promise you, if any country decides to go to war with the Bahamas for whatever reason, Bahamians will flee en masse to America, and a lot of us will go by any means necessary, even if it's illegal. So if some country decides to target us and make us an example for whatever reason, they might say you all have a U.S. naval base in Andros, and we don't like that. So we taking over the whole. We ain't just taking Andros. We taking all the islands. If a country decides to do that, we will have to flee because we don't have the ability to fend for ourselves for long without the aid of the U.S. So a lot of us are going to flee to the United States. Some of us are going to flee to Canada, and the very few might try to go to Europe. But I promise you, the people who try to get it to America, when America starts to put a limitation on how much people can come from the Bahamas, the right way, they put a limit on how much at what time, and all the complications start to get in there. A lot of us are going to realize what it's like to be Haitian if that were to happen. So, we just one country bad day away from being like the people we chastise right now. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. And like people don't realize that because Bahamians, we like to point our finger at other people who try to come here searching for a better life. It ain't only Haitians, they do it to other Caribbean migrants as well that move here. Other Black Caribbean migrants, I realize that, but we say nothing to the Canadians, we say nothing to the Americans, we say nothing to the Indians, we say nothing to people from anywhere else in the world that we deem, I guess, higher stature than here. I guess maybe I could say of a lighter complexion, maybe or that we deem as more intelligent or who we feel add values to the country intellectually, I should say. We don't see anything wrong with them coming here, however they choose to. But we point our finger at Haitians, Jamaicans, and it's really bothersome because most Bahamians, like you said, if something was to pop up in the Bahamas, they flee in by any means necessary and they see nothing wrong with what they're doing. But if somebody else is fleeing their country for a better life somewhere else by any means necessary, and we all know the state of Haiti and what they're going through, we seem to have no sympathy for them. Oh, we don't want you to come in our country. You need to go somewhere else. We need to stay there. And it's very interesting because when it's you, if you were in that position, you would want somebody to help you. Granted, you can't help everybody, but I'm just saying you could at least be sympathetic. And a lot of Bahamians aren't sympathetic towards what these people go through. And that's just
the Bahamas, the entire population of the Bahamas, I think we recently got to 500,000 status, but I'm going to go with the belief that we're still at 400,000, somewhere in that range. We're under 500,000. The Bahamas is like a little over, the entire population of the Bahamas is a little over 10% of the entire population of Haiti. We act as though all the Haitians in Haiti are trying to get ill. And I promise you, if if an entire population of a country decided that they was gonna come to the Bahamas specifically by any means necessary, then they would very quickly and quite easily make us second citizens in our own country. But that's not the case. Like some of them, the same way that they get stuck over here and they have to adapt, they've already given up hope on living a better life. They just try to make the best of the situation that they got. And I mean, Haitians speak three. Asians got to. I mean, first of all, they got to learn three languages because they have to they know Creole, they know Haitian Creole, or Creole as we like to call it, because we like to pretend that we don't speak a Creole. We like to say we speak Bahamianese or whatever. But we speak Bahamian, we speak in English Creole, and Haitian, so Haitians know Haitian Creole. Then they go to school, they still gotta learn French. And nine times out of 10, they learn some English too. And regardless of whether you say, well, their English don't be so good for people learning how to, yeah, well, I want you to learn how to speak French and tell me how good that goes for you. As a person who spent like a year and a half trying to learn, bonjour is as far as I remember. So the fact that they can remember all of our words to some extent might not sound as good as me and you saying it, but the fact that they can remember it, that's pretty impressive. So anyway, all I trying to say is they got to learn three languages coming up because the world speaks English mostly. And I mean, they use that to do what they got to do, and they just stay home and and try to make a way. So if they really decided that they was gonna come here en masse, it would take them. I mean, planes could only carry so much, boats could only carry so much, and the Atlantic Ocean is not very forgiving. But I mean, if if like 500,000 of them decided to come all at once, what you could do? like like what do you do in that situation? The defense force ain't got enough ships for that. I, they don't have enough ships for that. They really don't. And I know which allied nation would be so willing to lend a hand to help us deal with such a problem. And but I mean, I think the craziest part about that is if all of them came in mass, we would be so confused. Because honestly, we have such a strong lineage of Haitians here that I mean, a lot of them kind of look like us. So some of y'all might get grabbed by accident. But I telling you now, I telling you now, if your last name is DeVoe, you might Haitians, I got some bad news for you, buddy. Because there's no way your last name ends with the letter X, and you thought to yourself, yeah, no, that seems pretty English based to me.
Hey, before moving on to the next thing I wanted to discuss, I just want to talk back on like the language thing. Like a lot of Bahamians get upset like when they don't speak what we like to say proper English, which is there's no such thing as proper English. If you want to say standard English or the Queen's language, whatever. But
The Queen is dead. It's the King's English. Thank you very much.
But yeah, like people don't understand. A lot of Bahamians, sorry to say it like this, but a lot of Bahamians don't know what it is to speak a different language. Then one language, they don't know how difficult it is to learn another language. And as someone who's been studying French for about 3.5 years now, on and off, I did about 3 to 4 classes in UB, and then I've been studying on my own for the last about year, on and off. And I have become, I'm not completely fluent yet, but I can have basic conversations. Learning a language is hard. It takes a lot of practice. And for these people to do it on such, I don't want to say short notice, but to speak as well as they do, and English being really hard, like English is hard. Like, let's be honest. I am an English speaker and I find English to be difficult.
You
So
know,
I
you
can't
know,
imagine someone who has to learn the language from like how you understand it. Like English just have a lot of weird things for no reason.
we really get it. We really is talk bad to them, quote unquote, not speaking English properly. We have, yeah, and I mean, we pointing at them, and we got three fingers looking back at us because if English was so easy, right? Why you gotta go from kindergarten, preschool, all the way to grade 12, learning English? Why, when you go to UB, you gotta take at least 2 English classes minimum? You gotta take 2 English classes minimum. So, excuse me, if English was so easy, why we gotta learn it for so long? Why we gotta go over it over and over and over again for so long? Maybe it's because English is actually pretty difficult. I mean, come on. Some of y'all can't do math properly, and y'all still wonder why y'all gotta learn algebra. So why would you be confused about English? I don't know. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that the Bahamians stopped at a Creole. I'm more surprised that we don't speak Pidgin English. And people don't understand what Pidgin is. I'm sorry. That's I'm not talking about birds. That's a form of language that develops over time with mixing different languages together to make words that you can understand. That's a very like layman explanation of it. That's not doing it justice. But still, I'm surprised that we stopped at a Creole and we didn't start speaking Pidgin. But hey, if we get more Haitian Creole speakers over here, maybe one day we will develop a Pidgin language. I don't know. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this whole thing.
No, it's not only you because I don't like people to spread. I don't like seeing false information spread, and I don't like to see people mistreated for no valid reason. So I could get why, like it's like when you know better, you want. At least me personally, when I know better, I want to do better. So I guess that's not every person, but we have the platform to like help educate people. So why not do it? Like yeah.
Yes, and if you would like to hear me impassion rant on more topics, you can just try to find me on social media. I'm not very difficult to find, but just know that I am very, you know, antisocial. But if you want me to speak to you in a more kind way, you can follow us on Candid 242 on all social media
Hey,
sites.
hey, kind on.
Yeah, if you want me to speak, if you want to come to me at neutral ground, if you want to meet me in speaking Switzerland, you can
Like,
you can tell us that you want to be on this show. I don't know.
yeah, so basically, with the Minister of Health and Wellness, Honorable Michael Darville, has presented a new NHI bill with a new suite of services. And if this bill was to be enacted, it would replace 2016 bill that was implemented by the Progressive Liberal Party. So since 2017, there have been over 135,000 people who have joined the program, and about 20,000 of these individuals are spread across 17 islands in the archipelago. So Java in the proposal, well, a draft, well, it's not a proposal, it's a draft bill. Basically, what they want to modernize the current healthcare system, and yeah, and they want to aim to merge public and private practices under a common financing framework, right? This is what he said. The reality is that in many cases, the best prescription to address our complex health challenges is an affordable, robust primary health care system that can mitigate many of our health challenges brought on by the impact of poorly managed, non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, cancer, and cancers undiagnosed in early stages of clinical presentation. So some of the services that the new bill would include primary healthcare services, health education and promotion, early detection, preventative care, diagnostic imaging, pediatric and maternity care, and screening programs for cancer and other conditions, particularly in the early stages. Well, my thoughts on it, I have a pretty straightforward thing. I think if this was to come into fruition, that this would be a really good proposal to have. And yeah, I think that'd be a good step in the right direction for the healthcare system. What about you, Debbie?
As a person who currently works in the healthcare system, I think that everything that they want to do sounds very utopian. Um, it sounds like, and that sounds like if we lived in a perfect society, the government would just pay for all of your medication, which is something that many people could argue. a government should pay for their citizens to be healthy. You know, you could make that argument. And I personally believe that healthcare should definitely be more affordable. So I'm just saying, in that vein, if we're looking to make healthcare more affordable, we could always look at taking VAT off of medical services, because why did we add VAT onto medical services knowing that medical services are astronomically expensive? It doesn't matter that they lowered VAT to 10%. I mean, listen, I work in an oncology clinic and I see what these people have to pay. And it doesn't matter. I want you to know, when they're talking about cancer, it does not matter what stage of cancer you have. It is the treatment is extremely expensive. So the reason why I said this is also utopian, right, is because the idea is that under national healthcare, you as a private citizen, whether you go to a private practice, they're trying to merge public and private. So whether you go to a private practice or a public practice, that means that your doctor consultation is paid for by the government, your medication is paid for by the government, and you have no personal, like, you take it doesn't cost you anything. The government is going to pay for it. This sounds very utopian. Why? Because the Bahamas, as we all know, is a country that has billions and billions of dollars of debt. We also are very aware that the Bahamas, as a country, has had problems with healthcare workers in the public sector. Therefore, therefore, what am I saying? We've already seen the government struggle to pay nurses and doctors that work at the public hospitals. How where does the government get the idea that at this current junction, no, and I'm choosing those words very carefully. At this current junction, what makes them think that they would be able to afford the price of private private healthcare? That's why I said it's a very utopian idea. It sounds beautiful. It on paper it seems wonderful, but at the end of the day, somebody is going to get screwed, and more than likely, and more than likely, it's going to be the healthcare provider, not the people benefiting from the healthcare. So what am I saying? I'm saying that, let's say, for whatever reason, there's a limit on how much you can spend on your national health, on your healthcare, which usually tends to be the case. Like, most times, your insurance company doesn't tell you this, or doesn't make this explicitly clear to most people, but there's a limit to how much money that they're going to give you on the plan. It's normally in the millions of dollars, because nobody really, quote unquote, expects you to have millions of dollars in healthcare fees. But with the way that the world is going, funny. But my point is, let's say that you meet the premium and eventually your healthcare services total up to $1 million, or whatever the limit that they would have on each individual citizen is. When that happens, they're going to tell you that you still have to pay, that you're now going to have to pay for your services, for your healthcare services. And they could only hope to God that you saved up enough money to be able to afford healthcare at that point. And then you would have nothing else to fall on unless you have private healthcare. I mean, private health insurance, in which case, kudos to you. But, it sounds great. It sounds like something that we should look towards doing eventually. But, you know, I don't think it would be sustainable for us to do it right now. However, comma, there is also the idea of, if we don't do it now, then when would we ever do it? Because, let's be honest, there's no such thing as the perfect time. The best time to do a thing is today. The second best time to do a thing is tomorrow. So, I mean, we just gotta kind of figure it out. But you know, we'll have to see how it goes. I'm sure there's a lot more in the fine details that I haven't seen, that I'm missing or glossing over. But, we'll see how it works. Sounds cool. Sounds like a nice idea. But Everything sounds nice when it's free.
You may also have issue with this next thing that I want to talk about, but we'll see. But basically,
Mhm.
the government announced that they're going to add price control on some items, right?
Okay.
And this is supposed to happen November 1st. So the
Oh,
Minister
goody.
of Economic Affairs had an interview with retailers, and of course, they expressed their concern about their profit margins and having time to implement these changes on such short notice. Alcides assured them that this will be a temporary measure and that its success or failure will be reviewed once it's been implemented. And then I found this very interesting. They said there will be various penalties for non-compliance, but the government will not be coming down with a heavy hand, whatever that means. And apparently, this price control, the government announced that the 38 items would be added to the price control basket. And in actuality, it's 38 categories of food items, which would affect more than 5,000 items in inventory and price adjustments that would have to be made. So I, I, this is how I feel. I totally get grocers or retailers, pharmaceutical companies being concerned about their profit margin. I get that. I understand that because businesses have to turn a profit to stay afloat. Like that's just what it is. And but at the same time, it's just like you're killing us with prices, man. Like come on. I do feel like some places be running out, but that's just me. I'm not gonna call any name, but it is it is what it is. But I feel like some sort of control or maybe some sort of maybe I don't know what I was gonna say, like maybe some sort of break or something, but I'm pretty sure they get breaks as it is, but something because prices of food is ridiculous. Like I remember prior to pandemic, you could have get a can of cream for like 99 cents and then like it's $1.10 or something like that with flash. And now you're going to the store, you're paying like $1.50, $1.60 for one tin of cream. So you know what? I don't buy cream because I don't need that. Paying dollar no $1.50 for cream. Hello, I'm a high. And sad thing is, people can't live without food. I do feel like certain companies are taking advantage of the so-called price increase because why I could go to different
It's
stores, Old West or Old East, or even smaller grocery stores and find food that is the same food that is cheaper in other stores. And this particular store, they're expensive for no reason. But that's just me though.
you see, my problem is my problem is that you thought that I was gonna have a problem with this. I have no problem with this. What?
I thought you might have been like, businesses need to make money. The government shouldn't.
Oh, baby, darling hard. Let me explain this to you. The government went to these people and they said, "Hey, bro." The government said, "Listen, we understand that that money got to make, right? But the people broke, so you could only charge X, Y, and Z amount on these categories. Yeah, we know it's like 5,000 items that you gotta change the prices on. But I mean, if you don't have to do it, there'll just be repercussions that you have to do that you have to pay. No, more than likely to the government. See, the government did not tell the public that we're going to give you guys a credit card or some type of national insurance benefit card where you could go in the store and you could buy whatever you need and it could act like a credit card. Like you get to use it, and then at the end of the month, the citizens have to pay back the money plus VAT or whatever. They didn't say that. They tell you all, wait, this what the prices have to be because the people have it a little rough right now. So this the prices. And if you want to go above the prices, then you gotta go ahead and make peace with the fact that you're gonna have to face some repercussions from us. Wait, you wanna know why I happy for this? Because let me tell you something. I was a big guy. I stepped on the scale today. I'm 270 pounds. I'm a big guy. I like to eat food. Don't, you can make all the jokes and say, Jesus Lord, that boy big, all you want. Yes, I fought. I know. Point is, I had to go on to Wendy's today, right? And let me tell you something about Wendy's. Let me tell you something about Wendy's. The Asiago combo, the Asiago combo on the board say it costs $9.95. $9.95 for a small Asiago combo. Now, I know if you all realized what Wendy's did just now, because when you go to Wendy's, you know how we got rid of all the penny and you say you got to round up? Well, in case you forgot, if the price ends in 5 cents or higher, you're rounding up. You round up to the next dollar. So an Asiago combo costs $10. If you want to get that in a medium or a large, that's basically $12. A couple of months ago, back in June, an Asiago combo large was like $9. So all I trying to tell you is, right? If you thought I was be against the government telling people that you giving price control for people in grocery stores, I have no problem with this. I was gonna go shopping on Sunday. I will wait until Tuesday to go shopping, because that's when they take effect. That's when I go in. I can suffer through the weekend just to make sure that I get better prices come on Tuesday, man. November 1st. November 1st. That's right there. I have no problem. I have no problem with it. And I'm very sure that some astute individual is going to say, well, isn't that a bit of a hypocrisy? Because you just talked about how unsustainable it is for the potential of the government to have the national health insurance program work in the future. Yes, I did. But the difference between this and that is the government, in that instance, the government is making a promise to both the citizens and healthcare providers that we will take care of the bill. In this instance, the government says, hey, bro, this is the price of the bill. We're not paying it for them. We're telling you what the people are going to pay, which I think is an incredible idea. Now, mind you, the only thing I could have made this any better is if they went back to the original idea of certain items in the grocery store are also VAT free. Like if they said that too, boy, oh boy, I'd say, Prime Minister, you do a little good job there with that one. Halkitas, you all do some little serious with this one. But that's a perfect society. That's a perfect society. We live in a society where they just come down with the hammer and say, hey, bro, the price has got to be like this. I have no problem with this whatsoever. If people could afford more grocery, I have no problem with this whatsoever. If 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 a certain food store chain that rhymes with buy to buy you, with buy to buy you, has to charge me less money for my groceries when I go in there, I feel no sympathy for them. I have no problem with this. I I am an equal opportunity money saver. The reason why I like this is because they do the same thing with gas. Why y'all think gas suddenly went from $7, almost $8 to what they said it was projected to be, to back down? Now it's 6 something. You all thought that was a mistake? No, that's because they put the price control. They gave them a blind. They gave the gas operators a little bit of a blind, but they also kind of said, like, yeah, we're giving you all a blind, so this is what the price going to be. So, in the end, all I try to say is do more. Tell other people what prices gotta be. I honestly don't care if you even want to extend that to healthcare. Everybody can get a little bit. Wants it a little bit more affordable. Like I said, as an equal opportunity money saver.
What the last line was, Dudley? Use a word.
But that's just me.
No, the line before that equal word.
As an equal opportunity money saver, baby. Equal opportunity money saver.
Yeah, I agree with that.
See, when people see Because everybody is like to say, "Oh, you being cheap, or you being, or you too,
Yeah.
whatever the kind word is for calling somebody cheap." I just be there like, well, I get it from my pa, and I feel no problem with that.
Honestly, you gotta save money wherever you can.
Listen here,
Things
listen
have
here. When they did tell me, when they did say that the price of gas was going down by over $1 the day after I had just fill up my tank, I was like, boy, I so mad because I know my car. I know I could have made it to the gas station the next day, but I just put money in the car, and they just announcing this in the middle of the day. If they didn't announce that morning, I'd have been so straight. I was mad. But now I can make it to Tuesday. My mommy loved me enough to provide me food for the weekend.
Anyway, that was a great conversation. I think we talked about a lot of important issues in the country. So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Candid. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Candid242, like Dudley said, to see what we have going on and when new episodes are coming out. We hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next week, and keep it real, Bahamas.